Hi there, my name is Sam, and I'm one of the developers for the Spirit of Mater. Today, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite aspects of game design, creating icons in pixel art. Icons are an essential part of any game as they help the player navigate the world, understand what items they have, and make decisions about how to progress. In this video, I'll be discussing my approach to designing icons and some of the techniques and considerations I use to create effective and visually appealing pixel art icons. As with any design task, it is essential to start by understanding the purpose of the icon. What is the icon representing, and how will it be used in the game? Is it an item that the player will collect, a button they will click, or a status effect that they will receive? By understanding the context and function of the icon, you can begin to make decisions about its form and appearance. It is also important to consider the context of the world around the icon. In other words, do the items and subsequent icons that follow feel like they're a part of the world you are building? Should your icons look pristine? Should they look a little bit more ancient and weathered? Should your weapons look like they were crafted with influence by Mesoamerican culture or Nordic culture? Perhaps both. It's important to understand the context of the world, so you can develop a sense of consistency when conceptualizing the purpose of each of your icons. Once I understand the purpose of the icon, I usually start with a quick sketch in Pixel Edit, which is a software we use to create all of our pixel art. This helps me get a sense of the shape and composition of the icon before diving into the pixel art itself. From there, I'll begin iterating on the design, trying out different shapes, colors, light values, and rough details until I arrive at a design that feels both functional and visually interesting. I'm a perfectionist, so one lesson that I really had to discipline myself in was to not get caught up in the idea of not immediately recognizing the vision you had before sketching. More often than not, I found that it can take some time and effort in order to get to a place where your icon is coming to life. On the same note, it's wise to stray away from the practice of adding fine detail when your sketch is still early on in the process, even inside of a 25 by 25 pixel dimension. Take the process moment to moment and take your time. Pixel art is all about simplicity, and icons are definitely no exception. When creating an icon, it's important to keep it as simple as possible, while still conveying the necessary information. This means using a limited color palette, avoiding unnecessary details, and focusing on creating a clear and readable shape. One of the challenges that I really enjoy about detail specifically is the process of representing the visual feeling of complex detail with quite literally a few dozen pixels, while still conveying simplicity and actually being able to visually understand what the icon represents at a moment's glance. When it comes to minimal pixel art, you really don't need a lot of detail and color to represent something clear and beautiful. Icons should be consistent in style and appearance to avoid confusion and disorientation for the player. They should, of course, also be cohesive with the overall art style of the game. By using a consistent palette and level of detail, you can create icons that feel like a natural part of the game. One idea that I committed to actively remembering is paying attention to how much detail I would go into in order to achieve the result I want. Over the years, I would often find myself having to pull back on the amount of detail, or even the amount of colors or values, as some of the sets of icons were starting to feel mismatched or inconsistent with the rest of the game set. Granted, it was over those same years that we were also refining our style of pixel art, so on the same note, sometimes I would also go over the previously designed icons and other assets too, to bring the level and style of detail up to what we have now. Color theory is an essential aspect of any design, and it's particularly important in pixel art. Understanding the relationship between colors and how they can be used to create contrast, balance, and harmony can help you create icons that are visually appealing and easy to read. For example, using complementary colors for foreground and background elements can create pleasing contrast that draws the eye. As with the development of our visual style, I would also consistently update our color palette, which I think progressed through 16 variations until we landed on the one we use now. Choosing only a handful of colors and light values kept a nice guide to make sure we weren't adding more color and light that could potentially cause inconsistency and incoherence between different icons and the other assets throughout the project. Accessibility is a crucial consideration in game design, and it's no different when it comes to icons. Making sure that icons are readable for players with color blindness, for example, is an important aspect of designing effective icons. Using clear shapes to avoid unusual color-coded information without justification can also help make icons more accessible. For example, using reds to create leaves or grass. It could work, but without clear visual justification, such as a clear indication of some sort of autumnal scene, you can very quickly compromise accessibility. Again, keeping simple, consistent changes in light values was key in ensuring the dynamics of each icon could be visually understood at a first glance. Finally, once the icon is created, it's no doubt essential to test it in-game and make refinements as needed. Sometimes what looks good on paper or a computer screen doesn't work well in the context of the game. By testing the icon in-game, you can get a sense of how it'll function and make adjustments to improve its effectiveness. It is also important to test your icons amongst each other in different combinations. Often at times, I would drag around different icons and place them amongst different sets. I was surprised many times at how often some of my icons were mismatched over the years that I had been designing these. Granted, the style of design developed over the years, but I would often assume that a 2-year-old icon was perfectly fine, until I directly compared it to one I made today. When it comes to testing, comparing and contrasting is no doubt important, but consistency can often go overlooked, especially when you have many other tasks to bear in mind whilst also developing the game as a whole. So, be sure to compare your icons to each other as well as testing them in the game itself. So there you have it, my approach to designing icons in pixel art. Whether you're a seasoned game designer or just starting out, I hope these tips and techniques will be helpful in your own design process. By understanding the purpose of the icon, keeping it simple, and considering accessibility and color theory, you can create icons that are both visually appealing and effective at communicating information to the player. Thank you very much for joining me. Happy designing, and I'll see you again soon.